Advanced Listening, Episode 1, Life Challenges.
A few months ago, I went to a friend's place for dinner. It was a fun night, lots of lively company. You know, one of those nights you feel you've talked about everything and solved the world's problems. Towards the end of the evening, I was feeling a bit tired, and I just kind of sat back and watched and listened, did nothing. It was interesting. It struck me how what we say sort of defines who we are. Talking is a way of fitting in, you know, a way of showing that we belong to a social group. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about this and began to wonder what would happen if I just stopped talking altogether and was just silent. What would happen to me? How would I come across to other people? I decided to read up on the topic of vows of silence. There were some really interesting stories online. Often a vow of silence is for spiritual purposes, and people go into some kind of retreat to cut themselves off from the outside world. I guess you could say that's not about communicating at all. It's like taking time out to focus on yourself. But some of the other stories I read were about people taking what you'd call a more public vow of silence. What I mean is they continue to live in the real world and communicate with people, just they didn't speak. Some people did this as a protest, you know, like against censorship or something like that. I didn't have any kind of burning cause I wanted to protest against, but for my own reasons, I was still intrigued by the idea of a public vow of silence. So I decided to take one, just for a weekend. I knew I'd find it hard to last much longer than that. I looked on it as a kind of social experiment. I knew it was going to be a challenge. So, a whole weekend without speaking. The person I found hardest to deal with was myself. When I'm alone, I often talk to myself or sing or hum. But no, I wasn't allowed to do any of that. I had to keep my vocal cords completely out of action. I managed okay, except for a couple of times, like when someone held a door open for me and a little thank you slipped out. Also when my phone rang, I couldn't answer. I was quite proud that I remembered, even when someone woke me up calling early on Saturday morning. But I did text back. So you see, I still communicated, email, text, all that sort of thing. I just had to keep my mouth well and truly shut. The first thing that amazed me was just how easy it is to communicate without words, like buying a coffee. I just sort of pointed to what I wanted and nodded in agreement when the person in the cafe got it right. I even met a friend for a chat. I could react to what he had to say by means of a facial expression. Occasionally I did have to write some things down on a notepad, but I was amazed how much information I could get across without trying too hard. The most interesting thing was the way other people related to me. When I was queuing in the supermarket, a woman tried to have a conversation with me. She bombarded me with questions. When she eventually realised that I couldn't or wouldn't speak, she just made up her own answers to her own questions. She had a whole conversation with herself about why I couldn't speak. She thought I was unwell. Also, my landlord was interesting. I had to go and pay my rent on the Saturday. He always goes on about something when I go and see him. He usually likes to run down some politician or other. I don't always agree with him, and we often end up having a heated discussion. But this time, I just listened. And when I left, he said, "It was great to have a good chat." This was interesting. I don't think he really noticed that I hadn't been saying anything. He was so caught up in what he was saying, he wasn't very aware of me. And it made me think, well, aren't we all a bit like that? We're all so busy talking and expressing our ideas. It's like a kind of prison that doesn't allow us to communicate with each other and see what's going on around us. Most of the time, people treated me kindly. I often felt that my silence brought out the best in people. Being silent for 2 days really gave me a chance to see and feel things without feeling I needed to respond or react. I mean, I often wanted to, but I had to hold myself back. And this meant I just had to let things go, just let them be. And you know, I felt more peaceful, more connected with everyone and everything. So it really was fascinating, my weekend of silence. I recommend giving it a go.
Millions of visitors come to the Swiss Alps every summer. There's walking, climbing, swimming, cycling, paragliding, almost no limit to what you can do here. For some people, these sports aren't exciting enough. Instead, they go base jumping. This means jumping off a cliff and free falling before opening your parachute and landing safely, they hope, in the valley below. The idea of jumping off a mountain may be a nightmare for some people. Base jumpers say it's an experience like no other. To find out, I watched 24-year-old Ada Hoffman go on her first jump. So Ada, you're about to go base jumping and it's your first time?
Yes, I'm due to jump in about 10 minutes.
How are you feeling? Nervous?
Yes, nervous, but also excited, very excited. I'm keyed up. I'm going to enjoy this. I've been parachute jumping quite a bit. I've had training in that. I jumped maybe about 300 jumps. Most people say like 200 is a minimum. Other people say 500 is a minimum. So I feel ready for this base jumping. So yes, it feels like a natural step.
And what are you going to do exactly? You'll be jumping off the mountain, right?
Yes, there is a platform which sticks out over the cliff. And yes, basically I'm planning to jump off that one.
And then?
Then I'll be jumping from about 900 meters. So I'm aiming to free fall for exactly 25 seconds. And then I'm going to fall for a further 30 seconds with the parachute completely open.
And land safely in the valley?
Yes, you'd hope so, yeah.
And how will you know when it's time to open the parachute?
I'm going to count the seconds. That's the only way of doing it. When I reach 20 seconds, or count on 20, I'm going to pull this string hard, and then the parachute will open in about 5 seconds.
OK, well, good luck. I'll talk to you again after the jump.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, you made it.
Yes.
So how was it?
Oh, it was good. It was a good jump. Everything was fine.
How did it feel?
Amazing. There's nothing like it. Really, absolutely amazing. A bit scary at first. You walk along this platform and then you just have to jump. And then you feel really calm, completely in control. And after the parachute opens, it's quite peaceful, It's just, you drift down and it's just wonderful.
So will you go base jumping again?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm definitely going to do it again. Maybe I'll go later today, actually. I'm also thinking of trying a tandem jump sometime. When you jump with somebody else, you jump together. I think that should be really fun. But you have to be very careful.
With the number of jumps likely to hit 30,000 this year, it's clear that the sport is highly attractive. But there's no question that it is a very dangerous sport and not everyone survives. Many people say it should be better regulated or even banned. But base jumpers disagree.
Well, it certainly is dangerous. Yes, it's very dangerous. And I think you need to be aware of the risks when you take a jump. So if you're not aware, then you maybe shouldn't jump. But you're not coming here thinking, oh, I'm planning to have an accident. That's not what you're aiming to do. You come here with the intention of having a great experience, and that's what you do.
Right, so I'll pick you up about 7.
Great.
What else is going on today, then?
Nothing much. Max is due back soon.
Max? Who's Max?
My brother. He's staying with me at the moment, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's getting on my nerves, to be honest. There's just not enough space.
Wait, he's not still sleeping on the sofa, is he?
Yes. And his stuff's everywhere. And he's just so volatile. It's like walking on eggshells half the time.
Isn't it about time you asked him to leave?
Well, I keep dropping hints, but he doesn't seem to notice.
Why don't you just tell him straight then? Don't beat around the bush. There's a lot to be said for being upfront about things.
I can't just boot him out.
Hang on, did you say his name is Max?
Yeah?
Max Redwood?
Yes.
The same as that guy who wrote Solar Wind?
No, he is the guy who wrote Solar Wind.
You mean it is him? Your brother is the Max Redwood?
It's no big deal.
I don't believe it. Oscar is interviewing him tomorrow.
I know. Look, I've really got to go. Max will no doubt be hungry when he gets in. See you tonight.
Yeah, okay. Bye then.
So, Max, I was thinking, have you thought about the possibility of finding your own place to live?
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's not as if you're short of cash anymore, is it?
True.
It might be in your interest to invest some of it into property.
Invest? Property? What are you talking about?
Well, it would be lovely to have your own workspace, wouldn't it? What do you think?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but I can't think about any of that right now.
Why not?
Well, I've got that radio interview tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, don't worry about it. You might want to have a think about what you could say tonight.
There's nothing else to say about Solar Wind. The book is the book.
Oh, Max, don't get so wound up about it. It's only an interview.
Only an interview? You're joking.
Hey, I'll be able to listen to you.
Don't you dare listen.
All right, calm down.
Maybe I'll just go far, far away. Take a vow of silence. Live on a desert island somewhere.
Yeah, you might as well.
Emma?
The social activity I liked most was the whitewater rafting excursion. I'd never done anything like that at all, and it was a lot of fun. It was quite expensive to do, but I think it was worth it. We had to pay for the guide and hire of the wetsuits and everything like that. But the feeling of being swept along by the current of the water was a bit like being on a roller coaster. It was infinitely more exciting because everything was far less predictable. The only negative thing that happened to me was that when I got off the raft, I slipped on a wet rock and sort of twisted my ankle. Still, it won't stop me from trying this again.
Mehmet.
I did both the social program activities, whitewater rafting and the bungee jump. The rafting was nowhere near as exciting as the jump. I loved it so much, in fact, I'm planning to do another jump before I go back home. For me, there was one thing I found a bit strange about these activities. When we went to the river and to the jump site, we were just picked up by a minivan driver. There was no one from the social program who came with us. I mean, we had a good enough time just with ourselves, but it was a bit odd that no one from the committee was there. Not very friendly, I thought.
Paolo.
Actually, I didn't do either of the sports activities. I like sports, but I'm not so keen on these extreme sports. The more dangerous they are, the less I want to do them. So, with the whitewater rafting, well, I'm not such a good swimmer, and I was told it'd be a bit risky. And then with the bungee jump, well, I've never really understood the thrill of throwing yourself off a bridge. I'm quite good at normal sports. Football, tennis, volleyball, and I like hiking. Why do sports have to be extreme all the time? Some people complained about the cost, but that didn't surprise me. These things cost money. I don't mind paying, it's just it needs to be something I really want to do.
Changying.
For me, the highlight of the year was doing the bungee jump. To begin with, I really wasn't sure about it. And I remember when we were in the minivan on the way there, the closer we got, the more nervous I became. I almost pulled out at the last minute, but everyone encouraged me to go ahead with the jump. It was truly amazing. The initial free fall is the most incredible sensation I've ever felt. Just a big rush with this amazing sense of freedom. The only negative aspect of the experience was that we had to pay half the price. $100 is a lot of money. I'd been led to believe that all these activities would be paid for. I mean, I could afford it, and it was worth it. But I thought these things were meant to be covered as part of the social program.